This summer, Instacart presents famous summer flavors coming to your front door. Or pool. Or hotel.
Your grocery delivery has arrived, sir.
That was faster than room service.
No violins in the lobby.
Oh, seriously? Anyway, sit back, relax, and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Starring your favorite snacks, drinks, and more. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Rated H for hungry audiences. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, but also getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. You can find the link to our playlist in the show notes. Welcome to episode 27. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is singer-songwriter Tyne-James Organ. The Wollongong native has released his fantastic new single, Sunday Suit, ahead of his forthcoming debut record. In today's episode, we talk about the raw nature of his lyrics, literally dancing your troubles away, and the power of the Alabama Shakes. Here we go. Our guest today is one of Australia's brightest upcoming singer-songwriters. He's announced his forthcoming debut record, entitled Necessary Evil, and has just released his fantastic new single, Sunday Suit. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Tyne-James Organ. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you today?
Good, I'm very well, thank you.
That's good. Now, congratulations on the new single, Sunday Suit. It is out now and it is gaining quite a bit of attention on Triple J and on radio. It's quite a popular song. Where did the song come from?
The song came from, all my songs come from that kind of same crux of being, it's all about my life, like any situation or experience I've gone through. And this particular one was just, there was a time about 18 months ago that I was just feeling a bit low after love, as it always is. I was just kind of sitting in my bathroom and I put my headphones in and I felt a bit sad and a bit funny. So I just started dancing. And I just put some music on, just started dancing. And then it just kind of gave me this idea that, like, when I went to bed that night, I felt just a little bit better. And I was like, maybe there's something in the idea of dancing your troubles away. And then it wasn't until probably 6 months later that I jumped into the studio with Lachlan Bostock and Gab Strum. And it came to my head again straight away that it was like, all right, let's do this today. And then I just kind of honed in on that emotion and feeling, and it really fell out quite quick. I wrote the second verse probably a week later because I weirdly write my verses. They're kind of the last bits of the puzzle for me, especially that second verse. And then, it just fell out, and it just, the chorus hit first. And I felt really confident within that. And then there's actually a lyric in this song that's probably my favorite lyric off the album, and it's called "You Shouldn't Board a Boat When It's Bound to Sink." And now so many people thus far that I've have messaged me since releasing this song have said, like, shouldn't bought, as in like buying a boat or something, but it's you shouldn't, like, just get on one. So more or less the metaphor there is like, don't get on it if it's gonna go to shit. So it was bit of fun and that, and but it's kind of, it's emotional, it's got everything there like that, but it's got a bit of positivity in the message with it as well. So
as you just mentioned, the song was written by Lachlan from Mansionaire and Gab Strum, who some people might know as Japanese Wallpaper. How did that kind of collaboration or meeting of the three of you kind of take place?
I think it was all, like, I've known Gab actually for quite some time, just through living in Melbourne, mutual friends and everything like that, and being on the touring circuit. But I'd never met Lachlan before. And then all in all, Gab and I had just been wanting to do a session, and he early last year, I should say, just organised this week and flew Lachlan down, and they were just doing sessions every day. And Gab just hit me up and said, hey, do you want to come and do a session one day? And we just got in, and it was just such a vibe straight away. I haven't done many sessions with 3 people in the room before, but it was really cool. We all kind of came from different worlds and things like that, and all just like fused our ideas together in that. And then, yeah, as I said, it fell out really quick, but it felt really strong from the get-go. But I mean, they're a talent, as you know, with himself. So it was always going to be a fun session, that one.
Yeah, of course. I can only imagine what kind of might have happened behind the scenes. The song, it's like reminiscent of like the war on drugs, and there's a little bit of Springsteen there as well. And it kind of sounds like you always had like a full band sound on the previous releases, but this almost is kind of like a next step up. Was there the intention to kind of sonically expand for this new record, for the new album?
Yeah, very much. I feel like we're all growing every single day, every song I write, and that's I just feel there's growth there. And yeah, with the album sonically, the EP was really, it had some cool dynamics in there. It had some real like chill moments and then some rocky moments in that too. But with this, it was like, okay, it's time to be. I've matured over the last few years since releasing the EP, and I just felt like my sound, my songwriting, everything like that is maturing. So when it was time to kind of take it to my producer Chris Collins and sit with him and flesh all these songs out for the actual record themselves, we just decided to let's really, accent these little moments and just, try a few little things. Like we've got some warped sounds and warped vocals in there that are just like samples and that, which, never really done that stuff before. And yeah, it was really fun to kind of flesh that out and just kind of let it be, So yeah.
The new record is entitled Necessary Evil. Where did the title come from?
So the title came from a conversation with my mum early last year. And like my mum and I are best friends. We're so close, tell each other everything. And this particular conversation actually was about my car that had been kind of carking in at the time. And, a car's, you need it. It's a necessity, but it's still going to be evil because it's going to break down at times and it's going to cost you a lot of money. And I kind of like related that to a lot of like different life situations. And in my world, personally, it's love, like I love love more than anything, but it's evil because it's the one thing I can't control my own mind around it and anything like that. So I have this weird battle with that, and it just kind of, it felt right from the initial kind of spark. I just kind of wrote it down. Then once I told my team, they all hated it, which kind of made me love it even more because, I had the idea that it's like, if I've made a good album, I could name it something like Shoe or Door or whatever. And, if it's a good album, it's a good album. So I feel like the title can be made into its, that magic thing. And then also another thing that kind of happened 6 months later was I was on a riding trip with Chris Collins, and we're in Blackheath, which is just around the Blue Mountains. And we were sitting in a cafe one morning. It was a real lovely morning, just sitting kind of chatting some ideas and mix notes and then talking some lyrics and that. And then this song came on the radio, which was Unknown Mortal Orchestra's Necessary Evil. And we both just kind of, again, what a coincidence, wrote it down in our notepads. And then, yeah, when it was kind of a few months later and I was like really solidifying what the title was going to be, I just thought, screw it, I'm going to go with that. It felt right. We tossed and turned around a few alternatives, but at the end of the day, I just had to trust my gut. It's one of those things, as I said, I've really looked to that point of like, whatever the title is, the title could be the coolest thing in the world, but if it's a bad record, it's a bad record. But if the music's great, who cares about the title? It'll become what it will. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
Very fair. I think, well, yeah, as you said, the music is always going to stand up, whether it's good or not, and we'll define it. I'm curious, was Shoe ever a contender? Was it like top 5 in the name?
To be honest, I just kind of looked around the room then and found a few objects that I could name. So no, it wasn't a contender, but maybe album 2 though.
I'm going to check back in a few years' time with album 2, and if it's called Shoe, we'll chat. Tyne, your lyrics seem to kind of have this honest and almost like unapologetic nature to them. Has it always kind of been the case where you've kind of, I guess, put yourself out there so honestly?
Yeah, it has. It's I'm an emotional wreck as a person. I'm headstrong, but I'm very emotional, So it's heart on your sleeve, and like you got to take me for what I am, and that's me. So I feel like to be real, and music's such an amazing platform to have and to use. But I feel like to use it and put out stories that I don't feel, that don't make me feel something. How could I expect the listener to feel something and want to listen and go on that journey with me? So it's just, from the get-go, it's always been hard on my sleeve. I'm probably in the earlier days, actually, no, if anything, I probably am a little bit more cryptic now than I used to be. I was very, very straight up with my words and that. But now there's, some things in there that, I have my own story and they'll come out over time, but I kind of also like to leave it in that, just that world, so the listener doesn't have to just go, oh, this is his story, I can only relate to him. I want them to listen, and if they take one of my songs that might be about death or heartbreak or something like that and take it in for new life, which has happened to me in the past, then that's, I feel like I'm doing my job right,
Yeah, definitely. Do you find it when you are kind of writing about whatever the subject matter may be, do you find it kind of like a almost cathartic or like enlightening, or not enlightening, that's wrong. Maybe cathartic kind of experience.
Yeah, no, I definitely do. Like, weirdly enough, even though in interviews and things like that, I feel like I'm just in a zone there where I can talk about it. But in a day-to-day life, I kind of, I do struggle to talk about my emotions and my feelings and things. But you give me a pen and paper and a guitar or a piano, and give me an hour and a half, I'll tell you my life story. You know what I mean? So it's one of those, it's a weird thing. I don't understand it. But it's a thing. I don't just use it as it's not just my job. It's not just this thing I want to do for fun. I do it purely because it helps me heal, and if I can help anyone else heal, then that's just, as I said, it's my job and focus is uniting with any listener that can, wants to be a part of this journey with me.
It's a very interesting perspective to take in terms of how do I say this without getting myself in trouble? Arts is obviously we learn music or we pick up instruments, and we're very lucky to do so. It is a blessing that we're able to do it. But yourself saying that it's like a job to be able to it helps you heal and helps others in a way. I'm curious, how did you kind of approach music, or how did you get started, even just in the realm of thinking, this is what I could do?
So on that, it was honestly, it's as cliche as it sounds, from the get-go of my birth. I grew up, I was born, my dad was a very successful singer-songwriter and entertainer back in his day, and watching him on stage, he took us everywhere. Myself, my sister and my mum went to all of his shows, and he got us up on stage from as little as 2 years old when we were walking and stuff. So that he naturally, it wasn't ever that kind of, the, what do you call them? The stage parents thing where it's they're forcing you in. There was none of that. If anything, later in life, it got to the point where my dad, because he was a very kind of realist type of person, and he always was once I was coming out of high school and I knew that all I wanted to do was music, he was backup jobs, have your trade or something like that up your sleeve. And that's where we kind of bumped heads, because he saw that, the real approach. But then I guess on the other side of that, I listened to him and I was picking up these jobs. But then I think the thing that the communication that he didn't understand there at that specific time was social media was just on its kind of boom. And so things like YouTube and that, and Facebook videos and all that was really just taking off. So he kind of saw it, before Dad passed, he kind of saw the last bit of it, but he, it was just very, very evident that it was just changing the kind of that. But that's what inspired me, and it still inspires me every day. My family, it was always just going to be music. My sister had the better voice than I, and she still does. But she just kind of went down. She's a very business orientated person. She owns 2 houses and things like that. And here's me chasing the dream, living with mum. So it's all right.
No, that's very cool. That's very cool. I know you mentioned before you're back in Wollongong, not currently living in Melbourne. What is the difference? Because you've lived in both. What's the difference in the scenes like when it comes to music?
I mean, Melbourne pre-COVID is just anything and everything you can imagine and want for in music. I feel like I read an article last year sometime that it is like one of the most poppin' cities for music in the world, you know, and I just believe that. I've traveled a lot of the world for music and stuff, and Melbourne's just my favorite. I love it. I love the culture there, the food there, everything about that. But yeah, that scene down there is just something special. Wollongong, on the other hand, it's kind of now it's only just starting to kind of find its feet again. Back in, you know, when my parents were going through their heyday, it was kicking then, but then as it did with Sydney, it really just got pulled down. All the venues get pulled down. It still struggles. It's got barely any like music venues here. I think our main ones like the Uni Bar and stuff, which, you know, it's great, but where's the venues and that? Like the ones, even Rad Bar that we grew up with, that's been knocked down and just turned into apartments. So it lacks in that side, but the musical talent that's in Wollongong is just, you know, there's some of the biggest acts in the country and some in the world like that have stemmed from here and are currently here now. So yeah, it's a very beautiful place. It's just, you know, for me, it's kind of like I grew up here, so I've just needed to see a bit more of the world and, you know, Australia. And then now coming back, it's really made me appreciate the place a lot more. And it's been great seeing my family and my friends again, you know, because I've been away for a long time.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. Have you found kind of being back at home and living with your mum, like, I guess, has it impacted your songwriting, or have you even been songwriting while you've been back at home?
To be honest, I haven't. I have been writing, but not in my usual structure. After I finished the album in July last year, I've been having like a bit of a reset, you know, and I spoke to some friends because at first I was like, shit, I've got to start prepping for album 2 and that. But as I said, like, because I go so all in with my emotions within the writing and the recording process and then just the general day-to-day process, I'm just all emotions. It's quite draining. So I felt like I needed to have a bit of, you know, just a reset. So I wasn't just trying to force stuff out that I wasn't feeling either. So yeah, so I've been writing, but just not on my usual.
This summer, Instacart presents famous summer flavors coming to your front door. Or pool. Or hotel.
Your grocery delivery has arrived, sir.
That was faster than room service.
No violins in the lobby.
Oh, seriously? Anyway, sit back, relax, and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Starring your favorite snacks, drinks, and more. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Rated H for hungry audiences. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Path, I just kind of letting the inspiration come back again, but that's been really refreshing at the same time too. And I've found in the times I'm writing, I'm not thinking as much about what I'm doing. It's kind of just naturally falling out. So that's been special, but different for me because, I mean, it's the first album I've ever made, so I never thought I would need such time after it. But a lot of people, you know, that try and force it, songwriters I look up to that have come out of a debut album, they've gone, all right, we've got to go straight to number 2. And then they've suffered writer's block for like 1 to 2 years at times and that. So for me, that scares me. So I've thought, you know, got to keep your kind of head in check and your mental side of things up and, you know, up to scratch. So you're focused there. And when it comes time to get back into the chaos zone of writing every day and recording every day, then, and that's when it works again, you know? So yeah, just kind of just cruising through.
Do you have a preference when you are kind of writing? Is it more a I guess, a lyrical kind of thing first, or is it a melody? Like where do you start from as a starting point and then kind of work your way into the track?
So I kind of have this weird approach where I just will get my phone and I'll just kind of set my camera up. I like the idea of voice memos, but also I'm not the most skilled musician when it comes to like, I make up some random chords and that at times. So I like to be able to visualize whatever I've just done. So I'll just sit my camera up there and then I'll just sit there, jam. And sometimes these videos are like 50 minutes. So it's a bit to dissect, but to be honest with you, like a lot of my songs just stem from that. I'll just sit there jamming and half the time it's just jibber jabber. But then, as I said, the chorus usually will just pop out all of a sudden. And then next minute, you know, the song just starts rounding off and just going. But I remember when I was younger and, you know, I remember back in when I was like 18, frothing Ed Sheeran heaps and being like, how does he do it? Because he's such a talented songwriter. He's got to know the right way. And he writes lyrics first. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but he writes lyrics first and then the music. And I tried that for, I remember 6 months and like, that's not me, you know? And I remember putting that pressure on myself being like, oh no, I've got to do it. That's how it works. Or do it the other way. But there's no method. It's, you know, it's all like each to their own very much. Like I've got friends and people that'll come up to me and ask me for songwriting tips or message me about stuff like that. And I say the cliche, but it's, you just got to listen to your heart. You just let it fall out. It's got to fall out naturally and honestly, because it's when you're trying to, you know, approach it with these set like formats and things like that and have this template there this is the way. That's when you confuse yourself and you just, you know, you're not treating it as this like, I don't know the word, but just, you're not treating it honestly. That's probably the best way to put it.
No, so. I very much kind of get what you're saying, and I feel that is conveyed in your music. Like it does come across as quite genuine, which not everyone I feel has the talent to do so. So that's kudos to yourself for that.
Yeah, bless you, man. Thank you. Means a lot.
All good. I know that you were, I believe, were still lucky enough to be able to play some shows over the summer. What was that kind of like, especially with the last 12 months of what we've all been going through?
Firstly, it was surreal to be on stage again. I kind of, you know, you almost feel like you lose your mojo going back up and you get nervous again. I remember the first one back, it was in Wollongong. So that was kind of like an old but kind of hometown show for me. And I remember half the time I was just cracking jokes. I felt like half of it was a comedy skit. I was so nervous. I was just making weird jokes. But so it was very surreal. It was very different as well because everyone was seated. But I kind of took it to the approach of like, well, I'm lucky enough that I'm able to go back to my roots and just strip it back to me being solo and acoustic. So I just kind of did that. I didn't take my band, mainly as well because, you know, last year was a year none of us made any money. So to be able to afford to take all my mates and that out that I love having on stage, it didn't seem like doable at all. So I just decided to just go myself, just have strip it back. It's something as well that I was like, I don't know when I'll do an acoustic tour again. So I said, this is going to be a little moment that we can remember COVID by. Because at first as well, I didn't want to tour. I made it a rule for myself when COVID hit. I mean, we all didn't know. We still don't know how long it's going to be around. So I was like, nah, I'm just going to like not do anything in this time. I don't want to play shows if there's like 10 people only allowed to be there and stuff. But then it kind of, you know, on the other side of that, when I did it, I was like, nah, this is special, you know, because in such a weird low time of the world's life right now, that was one of the highlights of it. Like I got to go meet these people and, you know, the people that support me in my music, they keep me alive. They keep me driven and like going every day. So it's like, that was like the biggest kick to be able to finish off such a shit year with such a high was just the biggest blessing, you know? So yeah, it's very surreal, very surreal.
Yeah, of course. I can only imagine. Are there any shows planned around the tour in May?
Yeah, they're short.
Oh, sorry, the album in May.
So we've just booked an album tour that we're going to be releasing in the coming weeks, but we're going to be going to every single city in this country. So it's going to be a big one. It's going to be also going to be very different because of all the COVID regulations and that. Like virtually each show has a different kind of limit to what we can and can't do. So it's kind of it's going to be really interesting to see how it all flows. I'm excited. I'm nervous in that regards. I just hope that most places can stand to some degree, because this new album's very let's dance, let's cry, but let's specifically dance and cry. So I just hope, we can dance while we're doing it.
That sounds good. It is. I imagine logistically, when you kind of look at it as so many different rules for so many different cities, that it does kind of become a bit of a headache. So it's nice that you can kind of focus on the positives of that.
Yeah, I feel like you've got to, like, I mean, I'm not the world's most positive person, or anything like that. But in these times, and especially with things like this, you've just got to be as positive and optimistic about it as you can, because hopefully this vaccine thing's working and whatever. We're doing the right thing at the moment. And, by the end of the year, we'll have our festivals back at some scale of normal. But yeah, you just don't know. So as I said, it's just, I'd rather be looking at it like, let's go. I'm excited for it. The reality is we've all got, you wake up every day looking at your emails, making sure that nothing's about to be rescheduled or be cancelled. So that is the reality. But, the whole world's in it, and we're all struggling. We're all wigging out about whatever this is. So I've just got to be, for me and my sanity, I've just got to be a bit positive.
Of course. I think that's the best way to be.
Yeah.
Tyne, are you happy to talk about the playlist you sent?
I sure am. Thank you.
We've got a few classic acts on here. We've got the Doobie Brothers. We've got Neil Young, Peter Gabriel. I'm curious, because you're only a young gentleman yourself. Where did your love for these kind of acts come from?
Again, this all stems from my family. I was very fortunate enough, I am young, but I did grow up before like having MP3 play, or not MP3 players, but MP3 players. Because we only had like CD Walkmans and that when I was first ever walking around with something on my ears. But at home, like it was mum and dad, like all they listened to was the old classics. Like we didn't have just the radio on playing whatever's trending. It was just the classics. So like even now when I'm with my friends and that, people will be out because I can sing word for word some of these songs that people are, I've never heard this. It's just some old like 1940s or 50s song that's like just a classic in my eyes and that. But that was very much my like childhood, was just growing up with that. And also like in Dad's kind of later years, he like started these kind of cabaret shows and things like that toured and everything, and they were just full of like all the classics. So there was times where I'd join him on them and just go watch or whatever, or jump up for one. And so we had to make sure we knew every song because Dad was very picky and he wanted it done right. So it was always making sure we learned them. But then, even in just car trips and that, we always put on the classics and just listen to that. So, and I still do. I don't listen to that much new music anymore. I'm still pretty set in my ways.
That's very fair. I understand that quite a bit. Some of the newer acts that you've included on the playlist, there's "Don't Want to Fight" by Alabama Shakes. Where did this song come from for you, or what makes you? What do you love about this song? I
love her voice. Is just one of my favorite voices in the world. I remember the first time I heard it, I just stopped. I remember stopping in my tracks. I heard this song itself, and I just there's this part where she just goes right at the beginning. It's like she's inhaling as well. I probably made that sound really bad as well, by the way. But she's doing this kind of inhale. It's like she's smoking a cigarette and kind of screaming at the same time. And then that boom, it just kicks straight into the verse. And that just got me from the get-go. And now, like, I listen to just Alabama Shakes on repeat all the time. I just love them.
That record is particularly
dude,
good.
Yeah, it's really good.
You also had Alex Leahy and Gordy with Dino's.
Dino's, yeah. That's just like, that's a new song I've been hearing heaps on the radio. But I remember the day it came out, it popped up on my Spotify, and I love Alex Leahy and Gordy both very much as songwriters and people. And then to see them together on a song, the fact that they're in a relationship and then they came out with this song that's so wholesome, I was like, boom, this is just brought joy to my life. And I just listened to it 24/7. Like, I can sing it word for word, but I don't know. I'm not a like trained musician, so I can't, dissect a song and say all these things, but just emotionally it takes me to exactly where I want to be, but in the best place. It's so good. I just love it.
They're both fantastic songwriters separately, and so the fact that they were able to make it work together musically is quite impressive. It's a good track.
Very much, yeah.
The last one I wanted to chat about was The Right Reasons by Carla Geneve.
That's a very special song. That song really gives me like a Fleetwood Mac Dreams kind of feel at certain parts in it, like the bass especially and stuff. But Carla Geneve, I think she's by far one of Australia's greatest songwriters and so underrated. I can't wait. I feel like it's coming. Like, I'm going to say, and I hope I've got this, well, I will have this as evidence, but her, like, she's on the cusp of something very special. And I'm like, I feel like if COVID hadn't hit, there would have been so many opportunities that would have already come her way. But just listening to song after song after song of hers, like, I remember the first song I heard of hers was Listening. And then 2001, like, they were the first two that I started listening to. And I was just like, wow. Like, I've never seen her live. That's my biggest thing. And that's been the pain. Like, I've had so many times over the last year or so where I've seen her, she's going to be playing somewhere, but then I've been booked and then COVID hit. So there's nothing going on. So I can't wait. I feel like she's coming over this way in the next few months. So I'm going to definitely go see her. But she's like class. She's just class. The way she writes music and the deliverance on her approach and her guitar playing too is it's so fresh. Big fan.
I feel like you're 100% right in terms of her name seems to kind of just at the moment just be almost everywhere without being everywhere. I think it's right on the cusp of about to be hitting it big.
And that's it, yeah. Like, I'm so excited to see what's coming. Like, I'm so excited. Her record comes out, I feel like next month or something too, her debut album. So, it's going to be a good month. Sorry. I was just going to say, I'm just itching to see her live.
Fingers crossed with no touchwood,
touchwood.
COVID issues. You'll be able to see her next month.
Good. I can't wait.
Tyne, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. I do appreciate it. And thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Simon. I really appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Tyne-James Organ. Sunday Suit is out now on all streaming platforms. We've left links in the show notes if you'd like to listen to the track or pre-order the forthcoming record, Necessary Evil. We also want to give a huge shout out to Suzy at Positive Feedback for helping out with today's interview. You can find a link to our Spotify playlist in the show notes where you'll be able to listen to all of Tyne's picks. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Thursday morning with guest playlists streaming on Spotify at the same time. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you? If people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else. Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.